Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. So yesterday we got the full All-Star team, we got the reserves, and as every year, we get the snubs. And there's been a few snubs, a few disrespectful snubs, and one player especially, he's just getting ignored. It's the second year in a row at least, and it's not good enough really. So I'm going to talk about 10 players who should be in this All-Star team. 6 on the East, 4 on the West, so let's get into it. First one, on the East, Jimmy Butler. Now yes, he hasn't played a whole lot of games. He's only played 19 games for the Heat, but the games he's played, he's been elite. He was getting 3 triple doubles in a row. I saw him against the Lakers. He was unbelievable in that game. Jimmy Butler this year, he's averaging 19.1 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, and 7.6 assists per game on 43 shooting from the field, and only 16% shooting from 3. But you can't have it every way. But you might say he's missed games, and that's the reason. But Kyrie Irving at the start of the season, he missed a load of games, and he's actually ended up being an All-Star starter. So it just shows that you don't have to play games. Just when you play, be good. And Jimmy Butler was good enough to be an All-Star in my opinion. Another player from the Heat, and I don't know if because he got snubbed because the Heat are doing poor this season or what, but Bam Adebayo, he hasn't been poor for the Heat this year. He's been their best player with Jimmy Butler injured. He's played 29 of their games. He's been unbelievable. He was an All-Star last year as well, so I don't get it. He averaged 19.6 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game on 57% shooting from the field. His mid-range game has gone up a whole pile. Last year he got in the All-Star team averaging 15.9 points per game, and this year he's getting 19 points per game. He's upped it. I don't see why he's not All-Star this year. You might say it's because the Heat are struggling, but I think if you're good enough, it doesn't matter how your team is doing. On to person number 3 now, Gordon Hayward. Now not a lot of people are talking about Hayward. It's mainly about Devin Booker and those people who will get onto it later in the video. But Gordon Hayward, I think, has been snubbed. Because this year, he's revitalised his career in Charlotte, averaging 21.9 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and 3.7 assists per game, with 48.9% shooting from the field, and 42.4% shooting from 3, and also 86% shooting from the free throw line. So he's had a great season this year, and I think he's really helped the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball has played a role for sure, and Terry Rozier, but Gordon Hayward, I think, is a leader of that team, and he's really showed he's back to his All-Star best, and I think, he's been snubbed for sure. I think he should definitely be an All-Star this year. I like Gordon Hayward. He's had plenty of injuries. I think he's come back and he's proved people wrong, When he signed that contract with the Hornets, people were saying they overpaid, and maybe they did overpay, but you can't deny that Gordon Hayward is a good player, very good player. I think he should be an All-Star for sure. Now, one of the main people on the Eastern Conference side that people are talking about that got snubbed is Trae Young. And the All-Star break is in Atlanta this year, so it makes it even worse. Now, Trae Young isn't the most likable player in the league. He's kind of like a B-Tech James Harden, looking for fouls all the time. But you can't deny if a player is good enough, they should get the recognition. And Trae Young averaging 27 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 9.6 assists per game on 43% shooting from the field and 37% shooting from 3 on 6 threes a game. Just because he's not the most likable guy, I think he should be picked for sure. He's actually an All-Star starter last year, which, I don't see how. He shouldn't have been a starter in my opinion last year, but he's definitely not bad enough not to be picked at all. 27 points per game, almost 10 assists, he should be definitely an All-Star in my opinion. And it's just, that's one of the most surprising ones, seeing Trae Young not in reserves. One guy who wasn't surprising that he didn't get picked was Tobias Harris. If you told me, if you really believed he's going to get picked, I'd say you're lying. I didn't expect him to get picked, but I think he's been good enough. Ben Simmons recently has come into play and he's playing well recently, but the first half of this season, it was Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. They were unbelievable. Tobias Harris, he's scored 20.7 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and 3.4 assists per game on 51.7% shooting from the field and 41.5% shooting from 3, and also 88.9% shooting from the free throw line. And I think this was the year he should have made the All-Star team. He's playing very well. He's bringing a lot of scoring to the Philadelphia 76ers. I can't forget, the Sixers, they're top of the East, The excuse for Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, the Heat are doing poor, fine. But the Sixers, they're top of the East. Surely you gotta put Tobias Harris as an All-Star in my opinion. And one more player, the last player in the East, Chris Middleton. Now he was an All-Star starter last year, and people might say he's not good enough to win a championship with if he's your second guy, and that's okay. But this season, he was averaging 20.3 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, and 5.7 assists per game on 49.8% shooting from the field and 43.4% shooting from 3 on 5 threes a game. And I think he's had a great season this year. considering last year he was averaging the same amount of points and he became an All-Star. You know, I just think if he's an All-Star last year, I don't see why he's not an All-Star this year. The Bucks, they've struggled this year, and that's mainly because Drew Holiday's missed a load of games, and you can say I've snubbed him from the list. He's not on the list for me, Drew Holiday, because you know, and that might be a snub in itself. I don't know, but Chris Middleton's definitely played a big role this year with the Bucks. Now onto the West side, and another player, Gordon Hayward, isn't being talked about enough, and DeMar DeRozan isn't being talked about enough for the San Antonio Spurs. I was going to make a video about the Spurs because they're surprising me. I think they're 6th in the West. Last time I checked, they were doing great this season. I thought they'd be nowhere near the playoffs. They'd be just rebuilding. And DeMar DeRozan, on an expiring deal, he's playing unbelievable this year. You know, for sure he should be an All-Star. He's been overlooked for sure. He's averaging 19.8 points per game, 5 rebounds and 6.9 assists. Great stats. With 48.8% shooting from the field and actually 33.3% shooting from 3-point line. He shot more threes. He's shooting 2 threes a game, which is, compared to last year, he was shooting 0.5 threes a game, so he's shooting a bit more of the tree. He's making it, 33%, just below league average. And I think DeMar DeRozan, I don't know if because he plays in San Antonio and they're not the most flashy team or something, not the most popular pick, I don't know. But DeMar DeRozan, I think for sure, should be an All-Star because he's definitely good enough. So, you know, that surprised me. But one player that I think surprised everyone in the league, Devin Booker, for the 2nd year in a row. He became a first-time All-Star last year, but he wasn't picked. And last year was, you know, a bit of a disgrace that he didn't get picked. Then Damian Lillard ended up getting injured, so they had a space for him, and he became first-time All-Star. But this year, he's been snubbed for the 2nd year in a row. Now Chris Paul has become an All-Star. You know, I don't hate that decision. But Devin, if you're gonna make Chris Paul an All-Star, you've got to make Devin Booker an All-Star. He's averaging 24.7 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game, on 50% shooting from the field and 38.1% shooting from 3, on 5.7 threes a game. He's had an unbelievable season, and I don't see, you know, the Suns are a top 4 team in the West. You know, he's got the Suns up to there. He shared the role with Chris Paul, which isn't always easy. You know, people might, you know, egos might come into it and you don't want to share the ball. He shared the ball with Chris Paul, and I think if you're gonna make Chris Paul an All-Star, you gotta make Devin Booker an All-Star. He's kept up his form. Another person who's kept up his form in the West is Brandon Ingram. Now Zion, this is another case of sharing out the scoring load really. Zion Williamson, he stepped up this year. He's become a first-time All-Star. I don't hate that decision at all. But Brandon Ingram, he's done the same as last year. He's averaging the same amount of points, and he's not an All-Star. I don't get it. This year, he's averaging 24 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists per game, with 46.9% shooting from the field and 39.4% shooting from 3. And he's also improved his defense from last year. So I think, you know, Brandon Ingram, this is a snub for sure. I think he should be an All-Star reserve like he was last year. And, you know, I suppose that's what sometimes they play someone as good as Zion, you know, and a small market like New Orleans, you know, you might always get picked, I don't know. And the last player in this list has to be Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. 14 seasons he's been in the NBA, not once an All-Star. I think he's one of the greatest players never to become an All-Star. This year with the Jazz, he has the Jazz top of the West, big part of that. I know Mitchell and Gobert are the main players, but he's played a big part in this. And this season, he's averaging 16.4 points per game, 1.4 steals per game, 5.6 assists per game, and 3.4 rebounds per game, with 41% shooting from 3 and 6.8 threes a game. So, you know, he's shooting lights out from 3 and 44% shooting from the field. So Mike Conley, you know, he's getting older now. He's in his 30s anyway. I don't think he'll have a better chance getting the All-Star team than this year. Now AD is injured, so they'll have one more spot. I'd love to see Mike Conley get it, but AD isn't a guard, so I don't think Mike Conley will get that last spot, which I think is very disappointing, because Mike Conley definitely deserved an All-Star for this season. You know, he played very well. That's the video. Tell me, do you agree or disagree with some of my takes? You know, do you think I missed out on people like Sabonis? You could say him for sure, but the NBA overall is just full with some great players, and that's why loads of players missed out on the All-Star team. But I think at least some of these players should be in the All-Star team. But there's some players that came in this year that I'm happy with, like Julius Randle. Great to see him in the All-Star team. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications because we have plenty of videos coming out, so stay notified. And with all that said guys, I'm out of here.